What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today when I talk to you about SoFi, I want to go over some of the current data points, what shorts did, and go over everything else that you need to know from today. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. On a side note, I am back. Hopefully you guys didn't miss me all that much. I took roughly about 9 days off, give or take. I was really hoping to come back to SoFi being above $8. Doesn't look like it happened. It did have a nice run to around 770 though, but still not really enough to stay there. Still though, the data points I'm going to be talking on are somewhat optimistic, so you never know, it could be coming sooner rather than later. But 7.7 or 719 is where it closed today, down 1.24%. A fair amount of volumes, so 20.4 million shares being traded, 46.4 is the average. And I say fair only because majority of the volume done today was done by larger institutions, not algorithmic trading. So big money kind of forgot to turn on the algorithmic switch, if that makes sense. So I don't know, I see that as a good thing, because in order for SoFi to move higher, you need institutions to buy, because any stock can easily run up to what SoFi did, around the 770 or even higher. But in order for it to stay there, staying there is key. And no stock really ever stays there unless they have institutions creating these support levels. So SoFi's kind of struggled with that in the past, but today it looked fairly optimistic. So these are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. Today there was no news, no SEC filings, nothing along those lines. So last kind of SEC filing and PR both came out on the 14th. So there was a 144 on the 14th. So that was a former director selling, as well as this news on the 14th. So still fairly okay stuff. It's just been piggybacking off of the broader market. And right now the market is in rally mode, because you do see the fear and greed index at 64. So it's recovered fairly well over this last little bit. So people's appetite for risk has gone up. So that could really stand to help SoFi in the next several trading days. You have shorts though, very doubtful and trying to still suppress SoFi through forms of manipulation. So today they did increase 2.05 million shares, 16.62% of the free float is being shorted. That does work out to be 172.63 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 0.96. Utilization is 69.38. And just wanted to bring this up, cost to borrow minimum once again is negative. So there is a broker out there, I don't know which one, but there is a broker out there that is physically paying people to short. So that is 0.2%. So nothing really crazy, but you never know. Obviously that could be the tiding factor. So for those of you that have different platforms, all you have to do, you can either contact your broker and find out kind of how much they charge to borrow, or to like borrow shares. And you never know, maybe, I think some people on other tickers that I've covered in the past and where it has been negative, some people have said it's Fidelity. So for those of you that are with Fidelity, just double check, maybe that might be you. Or not you, but Fidelity, but who knows. Moving on though, let's talk on about options. So today there was 2.78 million in calls, 1.58 million in puts. Dollar value wise as a whole, very much reduced in comparison to almost like 2 weeks ago. So something again to consider, similar to the common stock and the overall volume from today. But 42% of all the options being done today were optimistic and bullish, but that probably is just shorts hedging their bets that way. So again, something to kind of consider. This is the current open interest, and this is exactly why SoFi did get suppressed below 750 last week, so expiring on May the 17th, because there was 62,000 in open interest at the 750, 72 at the 8. So if SoFi was to close above those, more specifically around $8, you would have saw a gamma squeeze like no other, and then you would have seen at the same time shorts really returning a ton of shares. So unfortunately, SoFi is again prone to a lot of manipulation, so that's why it got dropped below 750. For this upcoming week though, you do see a sense of optimism. So at 750 you see 27,000. In the past, that amount has really caused SoFi some struggle, but on an optimistic stance, if SoFi is able to get above 750, then this is where they are essentially free and clear to run up. So once again, you never know what could happen, but SoFi just needs to get above this 750 mark. And so a lot of these are very man-made, kind of artificial resistance points. So something to kind of consider once I go over the technicals near the tail end of the video. One thing I just wanted to bring up though, this is the most compiled information when it comes to options. So within Q1, there was, or I guess through hedge funds, there was 20.35 million call options purchased. Absolute craziness. So I do see that as very optimistic. It is down roughly about 3% from the quarter prior, but still does show that institutions do believe in SoFi. On the flip side, all 13 F filers did purchase 82.12 million in Q1. So that is up 5.02%. So I see this as very optimistic, but of course, options activity doesn't actually move the stock price. It is just a good sentiment kind of indicator. And this is why I like to bring this up and everything else. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because I see that as fairly optimistic. I already did talk all about institutions purchasing on the secondary market. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the dark pool, so very, very active today, and dark pool is often enough linked to shorting and just larger institutions, so very active as usual. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. When it comes down to technicals, which I absolutely love, so with it closing at 719, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. So the next strong support is right here, so the 716. It kind of bounced off of that general area today, so going forward into the next couple days, just watch for this 716. Vice versa, 727 is going to be that next strong resistance, and then of course 739, 746, and then 750, which is going to be brought on by options. But you never know, SoFi could have a nice run. Even this morning in the pre-market, it did look very optimistic for it to kind of go up. Just as soon as the market did open, it just decided to tank alongside the broader market, but still nonetheless though, it did look very, very optimistic, and there was an abnormal amount of buying that was happening. So very weird once again, as what the market usually is, but just take note of some of the strong support and resistance points, because if it is just piggybacking off of the broader market, it'll come down to the technicals. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. And actually, on a side note, speaking of technicals, I'll quickly point this out. So a lot of people do like the Elliott wave technicals. So it does have a pivot point of $6.64. So for as long as SoFi is above that, then it is anticipated to get to kind of the 850 to 890 range. So it's definitely something to kind of consider. Going over this though, on the actual chart itself. So right now it is below the 50-day moving average, kind of wedge bound between that 50 and that central Bollinger Band. So still it is considered higher percentile, so that's still relatively good, but right now it's just wedge bound between a very strong support and resistance point. And in all honesty, even though SoFi isn't the most exciting stock and it doesn't have crazy breakouts, like it's a very good option stock, if that kind of makes sense. So for those of you that likes to sell calls or sell puts just for the premiums, like SoFi is like a gold mine. You always want a volatile stock because that does mean that the premiums are usually a little bit higher, but at the same time, like SoFi is just trading wedge bound between often enough 2 points. And so yeah, it's kind of predictable for the most part. Eventually it will go up. A lot of institutions clearly know that through the call options that they're purchasing just in Q1 alone, but in the meantime, like doing options is absolutely key. Looking at stochastic though, just to give you a quick overview. So it is at 57, so it is considered neutral, so not really overbought nor oversold. And there isn't any defined trend right now, so that's kind of a nothing burger, not really much analysis for that, but you do see number of retail investors buying into SoFi, and that is seen through the momentum indicator. So right now, I do feel that a lot of the data points behind the scenes are looking very optimistic for SoFi to get kind of to higher highs. It just needs to get over that 750 mark, and that is absolutely key. So hopefully in the next couple of trading days, you'll see a more continuation, more institutions physically buying, and hopefully not a lot of that algorithmic trading, because that alongside shorts, that is one of the biggest damaging factors for SoFi and has been damaging for the longest time. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying SoFi? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with SoFi? While I was on vacay though, I did buy a little bit a couple days back at $7.16, I think it was, or $7.17. So didn't really catch the bottom, but when I did see this right here, I decided to pull the trigger. And yeah, so it's a fun stuff. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And with all that, appreciate all of you watching.